Objective 1.7, develop, document, implement security policy, standards, procedures, and guidelines. So again, in objective 1.7 of this study guide for the CISSP, objective 1.7 delves into the critical task of creating and maintaining effective security documentation. Security policies, when it comes to security documentation hierarchy, security policies act as high-level statements that define the overall security posture and expectations within an organization. They answer the why behind security practices. Standards provide detailed technical specifications for implementing security controls. They answer the how by outlining specific configurations or requirements. Procedures offer step-by-step instructions for carrying out security-related tasks. They detail the who, what, when, and where for specific activities. And guidelines offer recommendations and best practices for security, but are less prescriptive than policies or procedures. An example, a policy statement, for example, could be something like this. The purpose of this policy is to establish minimum requirements for creating, using, and protecting passwords across all organizational information systems and resources. Strong passwords are critical for safeguarding sensitive information and preventing unauthorized access. Examples of a standard statement could be something like passwords must be at least 12 characters long and contain a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Users are prohibited from using dictionary words or personal information such as birthdays or names or easily guessable phrases as passwords. Another example could be passwords should not be reused across multiple accounts, personal or professional. Password managers are encouraged to store and manage complex password security. So those are some good examples that you could use for examples of statements for standards. An example of a procedure could be, again, it's a step-by-step. So here's the procedure to disable an account, for example, right? Disable the user account and ID, and then here are all the steps, step by step. If the company is synchronized with Azure AD using AD Connect, then another step could be step 2, synchronize the Azure AD with Active Directory. Step 3, disable or delete the user account in Active Directory if Azure AD Connect is not used. Step 4, review and revoke user access to resources. Step 5, document the termination process, etc. So those are really good procedure, to have an example of a procedure to have in mind, right? Additional considerations could be part of this also. Mailboxes. For users with email accounts, determine how to handle the mailbox. That is, whether you're going to archive it, delete it, forward to another user. For legal compliance requirements, follow any organizational policies or legal requirements regarding data retention. If third-party applications are involved, right? If the user has access to third-party application through like Azure AD, you might need to disable their accounts in those applications as well if they're not synced. But any other third-party, and this is a big problem because nowadays users have access to a lot of services in the cloud. And if you're not using single sign-on, It could be that a person leaves a company, you disable the account in the company, but then there are other services out there that the user had access to that may not be tied to the account that they use internally, and then those access are left operational. And there have been many cases in which employees that have left the company, disgruntled employees, people with malicious intentions can actually cause harm because those accounts were not properly terminated. So really important to keep that in mind. Developing effective security documentation. Identify the organization's assets, vulnerabilities, and threats. This risk assessment forms the foundation for your security policies and controls. We will be talking more about this as we move along. Ensure your security documentation aligns with the organization's overall goals and objectives while complying with relevant legal and regulatory requirements. Seek input from various stakeholders, including IT, management, and end users, to ensure the documentation is practical and implementable. Strive to clear, concise, strive for clear, concise, and easy to understand language. Avoid overly technical jargon that might alienate some users. Security threats and technologies evolve. So regularly review and update your documentation to maintain its effectiveness. Implementation and user adoption. Effectively communicate the existence and importance of security policies to all employees. Provide appropriate training to ensure users understand their roles and responsibility. A big problem with many companies is that they have all these policies, but then you ask the employees, do you know where the policy is? Have you read the policy? Or maybe they read the policy, 5 years ago when they were hired, but that policy has changed, right? So it is extremely important that there is an effective communication and training when it comes to the policies. How effective is a policy if it's there? You have this shiny, beautiful policy, but then nobody reads about it or nobody knows that it even exists. So really important to communicate. Make sure or make security policy really readily accessible to all employees through a central repository or company intranet, which is similar to what we just talked about. Most companies have an intranet, but sometimes they're difficult to navigate, and some of these policies are buried into links that it's difficult to find. So they should be made easily, readily available to all employees. Establish clear consequences for non-compliance with security policies and procedure. Enforcement should be fair and consistent. So you can have all the policies in the world, but if you don't do any enforcement, if people are supposed to take certain actions and they don't, and they repeatedly make the same mistake or take the same actions consciously, and they don't respect the policies of the company, if you don't enforce them, then you're just wasting time and space and money. So enforcement is extremely important. Benefits of effective security documentation. Well-defined security policies and procedures help mitigate security risks by establishing clear expectations for user behavior in system administration. Documented procedures streamline incident response activities, allowing for faster and more effective mitigation. Documented security controls demonstrate compliance with relevant regulations and industry standards. And security policies and procedures foster a culture of security awareness within the organization. So remember that effective security documentation is not a one-time effort. It's an ongoing process, rather, that requires continuous review, updates, and user engagement. by following these guidelines, you can create a robust set of security documentation that empowers your organization to achieve its security objectives. So this will help you as a cybersecurity professional and also for the CISP exam. The SANS Institute has a great resource for security policies that you can use to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if you go to the SANS security policy templates, all these policies can be used for free. You just need to adapt it to your company, and there is tons of stuff. But let's say, for example, acceptable use policy is one of the most important policy every company should have. You can download this document in a Word format, so you can modify it to your likings. It is also available on PDF. So here is a sample of that policy. Obviously, you would change this, an overview of the policy. So what is the intended, an overview of the overall policy, the purpose of the policy, really important, the scope of the policy. This is another section that any policy should have. And then the policy itself. So, and then here you specify the general use and ownership, and there are different sections over there. Security and proprietary information piece, the acceptable use, the systems and network activities, email and communication activities, blogging in social media, for example, policy compliance, related standards, definitions, revision history, really important as well. So this, some company use a huge policy with everything on it, which I don't believe it's a good idea. Now, this acceptable use policy is perfect. And then if you want to break it down, so every single company should have something like this. And then if you want to break it down, you could make now other policies more specific about specific systems. And so if you go back to the, if we go back to the policies over here, we have, for example, acceptable encryption policy. So, what kind of encryption you're going to be using, antivirus guidelines, artificial intelligence. This is a new section, right? And due to the prevalence of AI in the workplace nowadays, right? So here is this artificial intelligence use policy, which again, it's a very useful one. A lot of people are, because of the issues that may arise with artificial intelligence. Anyway, so there it is. It is a free resource. I think it's a great resource, and you should take advantage of that. Okay. With that, we conclude objective 1.7. In the next section, we will cover objective 1.8, identify, analyze, and prioritize business continuity requirements, or BC. Hope to see you on the next chapter.